Welcome. This video on Postal Exam 473E is presented by PostalExam.com. This is T.W. Parnell speaking. I am the author of the Postal Job and Exam Guides published and distributed by PostalExam.com. If you want to take the exam, the first thing you must do is apply. The good news is that there's no such thing as test dates anymore. You can apply anytime you want. But you don't really apply for the exam, you apply for a job, and they schedule you to take the exam as you apply for that job. You apply for jobs at USPS.com/careers, but the job search and application process is a certified nightmare. See my How to Apply for Post Office Jobs video, or go to PostalExam.com for details. So what's on the exam? There are two sessions. The first part of the exam is self-administered, meaning that you take it on your own without supervision. There is only one section on this self-administered part of the exam, the personal characteristics and experience inventory section. The second part of the exam is taken later at a proctored or supervised testing site, and it consists of four sections: address checking, forms completion, coding, and memory. All sections of the exam are timed. On most sections, the limited time allowed forces you to recklessly race through the test, trying to answer as many questions as possible before time is called. And as you well know, speed and accuracy are not very compatible. When stressing accuracy, we usually take our time and answer carefully. When stressing speed, we generally work so fast that we sacrifice some accuracy. This speed and accuracy imbalance is one of the greatest challenges on this exam. The personal characteristics and experience inventory section, often called the psychological section, is self-administered. You take it at home, at a library, or wherever you can get access to a computer and the internet. This section, consisting of 150 questions to be answered in 90 minutes, is used to identify what the Postal Service sees as the most qualified applicant. You must pass this section in order to take the rest of the exam at a later time. If you fail this section, you automatically fail the entire test. Let's look at a sample question. How frequently do you establish personal goals or objectives that are virtually unachievable? This is a real question from the actual test, by the way. Should you indicate that you set high goals for yourself by saying that you do frequently establish unachievable goals? Or, by establishing unachievable goals, are you saying that you routinely set yourself up for failure? Would it be better to indicate that you set realistic goals that can actually be accomplished? All the questions on this section, by the way, are similarly ambiguous. After passing the personal characteristics and experience inventory section, you will be scheduled to take the proctored part of the exam at a later time and at a supervised testing site. The first proctored section is address checking, where you are to answer 60 questions in 11 minutes. Each question is a pair of addresses that you compare to see if they're exactly alike or if they have any differences whatsoever. This may not sound too very challenging, but the speed demanded is inhuman. You have only 1 to 2 seconds per element to make an exacting and detailed comparison. Let's look at a sample question. This sample question is laid out exactly as you would see it on the real test. It consists of 2 addresses that we are to compare. The answer choices are A, if the addresses have no errors, meaning they're exactly alike; B, if there is a difference or an error in the address section only, not in the zip code; C, if there is a difference or error in the zip code only, not in the address section; or D, if there are errors or differences in the address and in the zip code. Closely examining our sample, we will discover that there are 2 differences in the address section and a difference in the zip code as well. So the correct answer would be D. Again, this may not seem so terribly challenging when looking at only one question and taking your time, but making such minute comparisons when racing through a timed test at 90 miles an hour is not so very easy. Next comes the form's completion section, where you are to answer 30 questions in 15 minutes. In this section, you are shown actual postal forms, and you are to answer questions about how they should be completed. You have 2 minutes to answer each question. This may not sound terribly difficult, but the problem is the confusing bureaucratic forms. When trying to figure out how the form should be completed and then choosing the correct answer, 2 minutes per question doesn't seem like nearly enough time. Let's look at a sample question. This is a real form used daily at post offices. The question asks which boxes the customer should fill out as opposed to a postal employee. The problem is you've never seen this form in your life, so you've got to take some time to closely look over every box to see who should fill it out, the customer or their postal employee. Then you've got to check out the boxes listed for every answer choice to see which answer choice, if any, lists only boxes to be filled out by the customer. After careful review, you will find the correct answer choice is B. But again, doing this on a strange form in only 2 minutes can be a real challenge. In the coding section, you have 6 minutes to answer 36 questions. A coding guide is displayed, each question is an address, and your answer is where the address fits within the coding guide. Since the coding guide is displayed while you're answering questions, this is basically an open book test. Let's look at a sample question to figure out what all this means. The sample question is an address, 1100 Eldridge Street. The coding guide has 3 delivery routes, A, B, and C, and it lists specific address ranges for those delivery routes. Your answer is which delivery route, A, B, or C, covers the address in the question, or D, if the address in the question does not appear in any of those delivery routes. So we look in the coding guide for Eldridge Street. It does not appear in delivery routes A or B. Eldridge Street does appear in delivery route C. But the address range for Eldridge Street in delivery route C is 7300 to 9300, and our address of 1100 Eldridge Street does not fall within that range. So the correct answer would be D, because the address does not fall in one of the address ranges listed above. Next comes the memory section, one of the biggest reasons people fail this exam. This section is virtually identical to the coding section, except you must memorize the coding guide and answer questions from memory. The coding guide is not displayed during the test. You are given only a few minutes to memorize the coding guide before taking this section of the test. I know this sounds impossible, and for most people it is, but what I'm describing is the real deal. There are 36 questions to be answered in 7 minutes. Let's look at a sample question. The address in our sample question is 100 Alpine Way. We look for Alpine Way in our coding guide and see that it appears in both delivery routes A and B. Does 100 Alpine Way fit within either of the address ranges in delivery routes A and B? Yes, it fits within the address range of 1 to 299 in delivery route A. So the correct answer is A. But the huge problem here is that we cannot look back at the coding guide to select an answer. Having memorized the coding guide, we're supposed to select an answer by visualizing the coding guide in our mind. Again, this monster section is one of the biggest reasons so many people fail. We've discussed the test content, but what about exam scores? A number of my postal contacts confirm that exam 473E carries an 80 to 90% failure rate. Yes, you heard me right. Literally 80 to 90% of all applicants fail this exam. Those statistics should give you a really good idea of what you're up against. 70 is a passing score. If you score below 70, your report simply says ineligible. The highest possible score on exam 473E is in the mid to upper 80s. A score of 100 is not possible on this exam. Others who tell you a score of 100 is possible are gravely mistaken. So how high of a score do you need to really get a job? Only the top 3 applicants, the applicants with the top 3 scores, are invited for an interview, and one of them gets the job. So what you need is one of the top 3 scores. And whether or not you have one of the top 3 scores depends almost exclusively on how well you prepare for the test. How can you succeed against such incredible odds? Effective test preparation is the one and only answer. A big reason so many applicants fail is that only a very few make any type of test prep effort whatsoever. We don't want you to fall into the 80 to 90% category of losers, do we? So let's plan to make full use of my test prep guide and leave the others behind in the dust. My complete Postal Exam 473 Interactive e-guide, available only at postalexam.com, comes with a tutorial of comprehensive and up-to-date exam info, proven successful test-taking strategies, including highly acclaimed strategies for the horrific memory section, and ultra-realistic interactive scored online practice test. The practice tests are scored so you can track your progress and concentrate your efforts accordingly. Check out the reviews on postalexam.com to see what others have to say about my online guide in general and about my memory strategies in particular. If you take nothing else away from this presentation, remember this: the one and only site you need for job search, application, and test prep assistance is postalexam.com. You will find putting a little time and effort into using my guides to be a small investment compared to the tremendous rewards of a postal career. Thank you for sharing a few moments of your time with me. I wish you the best of luck in your postal job quest.